Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Holy Shiftballs podcast. I am Sharon alongside my favorite bestie, Bethany. Hey, Bethany, how are you today?
What's up, girl? I'm doing great. How about you?
I am absolutely fabulous. And as you all know, over the last several weeks, we've asked some pretty big questions about consciousness. Well, today, we're ending the series off with the biggest one yet. And it is the universe itself conscious?
Yes, if you've ever wondered whether you're living in the universe or whether the universe is somehow living through you, you're in the right place. Because today's guest is Deanna Divine. She is a spiritual guide, a multidimensional channel, author, energy healer, podcast host, and someone who spent more than 20 years exploring consciousness, energy, quantum physics, and spiritual transformation. Welcome to the show, Deanna.
Thank you so much for having me on. Beautiful.
Great to have you here. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back and always having fun talking about consciousness.
Exactly. So let's just start with the question that everybody is asking, wondering, is consciousness, Deanna, is it something humans have, or is consciousness something humans exist inside of?
Great question. And for me, consciousness is the quantum field. And what is a quantum field, right? So this is bigger, I would say, exploration that a lot of quantum physicists are doing today. And there's a lot of experimentation that's been done in that community where we now scientifically can prove consciousness. So one of the ways they've proven it right now is one of the concepts is through quantum entanglement. So the idea is there's a particle over here and another particle somewhere else, despite the distance and time. And if you blow on one particle here, that other one basically mirrors it. It does the same thing. So the question is the universe itself conscious? Well, what about these particles? So if we think of universe as this field or this ocean of information, ocean of waves of energy, then we are all interconnected, right? We're all part of this network, this tapestry of creation. And therefore, that is consciousness, right? Everything has an intention. Everything has interconnection from the smallest plank to atom to subatomic particle to nebulas to stars to planets. Everything is alive. And they all talking to each other. So are we consciousness? Are we the universe itself? Like you inverse? Absolutely, because we are part of that soup of information. We are part of that ocean. And our internal ecosystem, from our cells to our DNA, they all have their own reality bubbles within too. They are part of this universe that's within ourselves. So we mirrors of what is out there. So as above, so below, as a very strong hermetic principle, many know. Everything is like that. When we zoom in, zoom out, down to smallest sacred geometry, how even our flowers are created in these little spirals that we see in Fibonacci sequences and geometries, the structure to consciousness, the structure to the order, and how it just manifests itself, whether in physicality or in energy.
Yes. Wow. That is really very profound, Deanna. Is consciousness something that we are trying to understand, or is consciousness trying to understand itself through us?
I would think the latter. I think we are just basically emanation of consciousness that's trying to learn about itself through experience. So if you think of consciousness as source, right, the energy, if we go to the beginner of all it is, and it just is. but then it is fragmented itself, distorted itself into variations. So different templates, different universes. It's beyond this universe. This universe is just one phantom, one template that actually kind of far away from the source. But there's so many different templates, and each one is trying to understand consciousness. Each one's game is a little different. So in our universe, we're learning through duality. We're learning through plus and minus, through feminine and masculine, right? Light and darkness. And so we constantly pushing and pulling, trying to understand what we are. And then we, the created beings, and we are part of that collective too. We created Milky Way, let's say. We created galaxies such as Milky Way, where we could bring our consciousness, which is, think of it like a software, into hardware, into this body, and experience certain level of densities and a certain level of dimensions. And you couldn't experience otherwise if you were just energy light form. So from my perspectives, yes, we are human beings having a physical experience, but we mostly spiritual beings having physical experience.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the trick of to think about it that way, because we creators of this reality, right? And if we ultimately our consciousness, we get to choose what we want to create and how it manifests itself into a form.
Yes, girl.
Exactly.
If every atom in the universe carries information, does every atom also carry awareness?
I think so. There's definitely some level of source intelligence that is happening in this universal matrix. Nothing is random. If, we often talk about synchronicity, like, oh, I ran into my friend and it was just a random event. I don't really believe in randomness so much. There is, of course, probability, but there's also a thing called resonance. There's certain vibrational match in frequency. And so, it's the same question of like about destiny versus free will, right? And I feel it's kind of goes together where there is maybe predestined events. There is a template. There is like musical notes that someone gives you, but how exactly you play it, how you execute it, the choices you make along the route, that is a free will. That is something you still, I believe we still have choices. Some might argue and say no, but I do believe we have choices. And there's an interesting new concept that I just learned. So I want to throw it in because it's really relevant here. It's called quantum immortality. And it's really, have you heard of this? This is
Go ahead,
real.
break it on down, girl.
Yeah, it's really exciting for me because I've been, in this field for a while, but this is something new that I'm learning as well. So I'm actually going to bring my own personal story. So when I was 14 years old, I was standing on the bus stop in Israel, and then I had this higher self voice, and it told me to leave. So I survived. It was a terrorist bombing, right? So that day I wasn't meant to die. But what if, in this quantum immortality idea, what if you, already died? That, the idea is that version of you, like let's say that would have stayed on that bus stop, is it's called the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, where every event produces multiple possible outcomes. And if that's true, like every major decision could create different branches of reality. And so the idea is specifically with the quantum immortality is that the versions of you may have already died, but while your conscious experience continues along the branches where you survive.
Yeah.
So,
So,
so those might branch off, right? But this one is some of us call it highest timeline, is the one that is still kind of moving forward. And so it does not mean that like science has proven that consciousness jumps between universes, but there is something about this like simultaneous realities and branches that have been created as well.
It's quite the fascinating topic, and Bethany and I have actually discussed it many times, because when you make any sort of decision, do I go out of town this weekend? Do I stay in the city? What do I do? I have these options. Well, if you explore one option, you could be in a car wreck and die, and or something could happen that puts you on a trajectory of a different timeline. Whereas if you stay in the city, then you're on the same timeline. Like these are things we explore a lot. We hurt our brains some days. We really do. So that leads me to my next question about it's really about reality, right? The reality we experience. So if two people experience the same exact event and walk away with completely different realities, where does reality actually exist?
I think the reality exists with the particle that is creating it. So your reality might be very different bubble reality that maybe even Bethany has. And that's kind of back to the idea of that we are created beings. We are creating these like through our perception, through our awareness, through our observer effect. It's how we also perceive in reality. So
Mhm.
in quantum physics, the very known experiment that it was like the double slit experiment, where they were just shooting, some protons, and they would behave in a certain way. But the minute they were observed, they started behaving differently.
Yes.
So the observer effect really matters. And it's like how we observe in our story. Are we stuck in our story, in our loop, or do we maybe extract ourselves out and notice the parameters of the story? I mean, how many times you felt like really stuck, like you on the bottom of the pit, this is the worst that could ever happen to you. And then you maybe had a little moment with yourself, or maybe you took plant medicine, whatever that is, or you did a meditation and you started having a new perception, new perspective, new angle of you stepped out of that mind chatter, right, on this loop, and then you're like, oh wow, there is this aspect of myself I didn't see in the story. And then now from that point, back to choices, you make a different choice, you decide to create, and so your reality bubble starts changing because it's no longer in that frequency bandwidth. Now it's like, oh, like this new light coming in, now you're making choices not to be so down, and you release in grief, whatever that is, and you now operating from a different state. So that would be, Bethany's experience, but maybe someone else sharing like at the same time continues on in those low frequencies, and they kind of go down that spiral and now making any changes. So I do believe in that way we are constantly in different realities, and not one reality is alike.
Yes. Do
I
you know?
love that.
I love that.
Uh-huh.
That's a fabulous
It's
awareness.
a great explanation.
No, yeah. You're an energy worker for our audience, and you've actually, I mean, you've worked with energy for over 20 years, girl.
More than
What
I have.
for our audience, that might be new to energy work, what does that entail with when doing energy work with you?
Yeah, so I do what's called quantum healing, as I call it now, because it's not Reiki anymore, in the way that like I'm running frequencies based on symbols that I've learned from someone else. So the way I work is usually through my divine channel. And so I channel light language, which is, multidimensional language. And for me, it's like no, back to the particles that exist simultaneously in different spaces. It doesn't matter where the person is. They can be on Australia and Malaysia, wherever. And then when I work with them, I literally tune to them and I become like them. I become that particle that is super entangled. So now I'm feeling in my field, in my body, exactly what they feeling. And I start scanning and I'm seeing there is certain density, certain distortions, certain blocks in the chakras, in the geometry, in their different light bodies. And so I start clearing with the language, with shifting the energy. So I see myself as transmuter. So I'm transmuting these energies, because energy is energy. You can't really destroy energy, but you can convert it. You can convert it from one state into a different state. So you basically need to transmute it, alchemize it. And that is also happening multidimensionally, because we just said there's so many time branches. And so there's also many entanglements and cords that we have in that field into these branches. And so sometimes I see myself also collapse in some of these branches, these timelines that are not serving. And the idea is really to bring us back into that alignment, into coherence, because I do believe that, we are perfect as we are. There's nothing to really fix. We're just out of alignment. And whether it's because of the conditions or the environments, the traumas we picked up from this
Yes.
lifetime, other lifetimes, do a lot of galactic clearings from imprints we collected from different galactic wars. There's just a lot of debris. And as we like unpeeling the onion, clearing it out of the field, you come into this central channel, into full coherence within all your chakras, your toroidal field, your energy starts moving and activating, and you much more centered then, much more peaceful, much more grounded, and not as anxious, and you feel it's not wobbly. That's really, for me, the main focus is like, how do I bring you back to you? And that from that point, when you clear energetically, then mentally, of course, because all is connected, that's when the magic happens. Then you start stepping into that energy yourself. You start trusting yourself more. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of the gist of it. And one of the new things I started doing the last few years is what I call quantum attunement or quantum upgrades. So, which is after clearing, you need to also kind of just like back to software hardware, like we have to run some antivirus programs, but then we have to also upgrade the system so it kind of like matches to be in this new state. And so I've been kind of channeling these mathematical actually numbers and sequences, because universe is ultimately all math. It's all holographic.
Mhm.
And so that's these new programs that I started putting and channeling for people in the field after I'm done. I've noticed been really stabilizing and helping to like anchor them here.
Oh, that's an interesting perspective, but you're right. It is all math. And like it's a fractal universe, and that's based on math, right? So that's interesting. But I'm going to take you to a little bit of a different place here with my next question, because what if consciousness isn't evolving at all? What if it's humanity slowly becoming aware of consciousness and humanity's the one evolving?
Well, humanity, like I said, we just one iteration of physicality of so it's consciousness is not in the brain. It's not non-local. We know that, right? Because of the dreams we have, the near-death experiences people have, even when the brain is completely, died, like you still having experiences. So consciousness for me is a software. So it is something that evolves, expands, and it's always there. So humans always have it, but you're right, they're becoming more aware and open to it, and to connection. So it's really about connection and disconnection. So it's like if you connected to the field of information, if you connected to your higher self, all the information is there. It always has been. It never really got deleted. It's eternal. Your soul is eternal.
Yes.
And we just got disconnected because of these blocks of energies that I was just talking about, because of the traumas, because we also went through the last, 12, 30,000 years of darkness, of descent, where it wasn't safe for us to be connected to ourselves. It wasn't safe for us to feel in our heart. We would be persecuted, as witches, as Templars, as all of these different lifetimes that have been happening on Earth here. And we also got stuck in this reincarnation loop here. So we didn't get to exit out of Earth, because in other systems, in other star systems, because I do a lot of galactic Akashic records, usually, unless the soul really chooses, usually the soul tends to like move around more because it wants to learn through different experiences, different star systems. And so it kind of at a certain point chooses to go. But on Earth, we've been like kind of a long time in some ways in terms of incarnations. And the difference is here we don't remember our other lives.
Right.
In other star systems we do. So it's like we collected information, but we also can't really act on it much. There's no lessons learned really, maybe some integrated, because you always also don't remember. And that's part of this mechanics that been installed here. It's also lifting now, right? A lot of this quarantine lifting, so we're starting to remember, and all of a sudden all of that is flooding. And it's when we talk about past lives, for me they're also like simultaneous parallel lives, because in the quantum field of the universe and consciousness, it's all existing simultaneously. So we can connect to it. So memory, like it's to remember, right? What does that mean? It's like to become member again of the consciousness, of the source of information that is always there. So I guess to answer your question, Sharon, it's kind of twofold, but for me, it's really about us choosing to connect, opening ourselves up to that connection that has been always available for us.
Awesome. Deanna, I know you have cards.
Yes.
Yes, they're here.
Yes, we do.
And I would love, sister, to have a card for our humanity, for the collective, and for, both Sharon and I. And let's see what
Yeah,
we get.
let's open first one. Maybe what was the first question for the audience, for humanity,
Yes, for the collective too.
for the
Just
collective?
yes.
Oh, my favorite card, the Phoenix.
Ooh,
The
rising from the
Phoenix
ashes.
rises from the ashes, and it is about alchemy through transmutation. You are in the fire of becoming. Let all that no longer serves burn, so your next form may rise encoded with light.
And that's what's
Nice.
happening in the collective
is.
right now,
This
too.
is really what happening. I think we really
Yeah.
shed in the old and we're stepping into the new. We still figuring out, we're still in this process of becoming, that's for sure. We figuring out what we become in, but we know that the new is emerging and we all choosing what that looks like. So I think that's perfect. And then the question, Bethany, was the second for you and Sharon.
Yes.
Holy Shiftballs, baby.
Holy Shiftballs.
All right, let's see. Oh, I love this. Live an altar. So you can see the altar here. And the message is presence as a prayer. What you honor becomes sacred. With intention, any space becomes holy. Holy Shiftballs. Sacred space.
That's awesome. I really do like that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that is so important. I mean, this is what this podcast is about, right? Is how do we, become the sacredness of consciousness, how we create these containers where others can tune in and reconnect to themselves to really be in resonance.
And how do
feel
you do
safe.
and how do you do that? And that comes through presence. That comes through right here, not allowing yourself to go past, future, and pull all that data into your present. It's just about arriving in that moment through your heart of presence. Yes.
And letting go of judgment for yourself, for others, for anything, any form of judgment. Just let that go and just be present. Like Bethany says, it's a beautiful way to connect.
Presence promotes, practice promotes presence. That's another one where, we have to teach ourselves in some ways to be present, because we're often enough, we're so anxious. We want to know what the future is going to hold. But, anxiety, we have to recognize, is part of that reptilian brain that is trying to control, and it's uncomfortable in that unknown. And then sometimes we're so depressed, we kind of ruminate about the past, and the depression is about the past, but it's really realizing time is alive. So there's no really presence or the future. It's really the moment of now. And that's the presence.
Yes,
Holy
girl.
altar of the presence. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and shift on over to our segment of Shit or Shift. We're going to ask you
We'll keep it brief.
Yeah. We'll keep it brief. And okay, so the first question I got for you.
No, I mean the segment. Sorry. I wasn't talking about your introduction. I'm really sorry about that. That was not.
I was like, okay,
I didn't
even brief. Here we go.
Sorry, it didn't even occur to me. I apologize for that. I apologize to you for that, because that was not the intent. It was like, because we know Deanna's got somewhere to be, so we'll keep
It's all good. It's all good. Fire.
All right. Shit or shift. So if it's a shift, it's expensive. Yes, you're having it. Shit is it? It's a total program. Get it out of here. All right. So first question. Believing you're separate from the universe, is that a shift or a shit?
That's a shit. Because you're so connected way beyond you can possibly even comprehend with your little human mind. So yeah, we are multidimensional beings in many, many ways.
And would you say that connecting with the universe would become with that presence through the present moment? Is that how you connect?
Through the present moment, we also slow down. We becoming aware and we're listening. right? And that's the connection. We have to listen to that inner voice, to that guidance, to, what is present in our body, and that's where connection gets built.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, Deanna, the answers we're searching for aren't hidden from us, they're hidden by us. Should or shift?
The answers hidden by us, it's, I would say, a shift. Yeah, well, I guess we hiding from ourselves sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they all there, they're all available. Sometimes we just don't want to look. We don't want to look at the dirt under the rug. It's just uncomfortable, right? We don't want to look at that trauma, our shadows. But
Yeah.
the true healing work that has to happen in this lifetime is for us to pull that uncomfortable dirt under the rug and really face it, and integrate it and process it, and realize all these trapped emotions. That's what also makes us sick. Like, that
Mhm.
is part of the disease, lack of ease. So we got to bring back that ease and grace into our system. So we got to confront it. Yeah.
All
Excellent.
right. That's a fantastic answer. Now here's a great question for us energy workers. Okay, you ready? All right. Believing your thoughts belong only to you. Shit or shift?
Definitely shit. I think there's like a famous notion, like Michael Jackson, because the Michael movie is out there for those who haven't seen it. It's really great. And he used to like call his producer and be like, we gotta meet now while I have this download because Prince might get this song. And it's so true because it's everything is in the consciousness field. Anyone can download, anyone can tap into it. And if you haven't that
Yep.
insight, act on it,
Yep.
because most likely your neighbor next door eventually will. If they can
That was proven in the invention of the telephone. There was
Mhm.
3 or 4 people around the world at that time when Alexander Graham Bell filed for the patent. There was 3 other people who had the exact same idea, and I mean, there was no internet. There was there was nothing connected. Everybody was an island unto themselves. So we
Well,
are part of a collective consciousness for sure.
Yeah.
exactly, sister. And it's
Yeah.
just like it what is the 100th monkey
Yeah.
experience? I mean,
Exactly.
Yeah. Same
yeah,
thing. Exactly.
very same thing.
Okay, my last question, Deanna. The universe isn't testing us, it's reflecting us. Shift or shift?
Shift. It is reflecting us. I think the work we are doing definitely helps the universe to expand. I think, if anything, the way I see universes from my perspective, as I look at the records, there is like an expansion constantly that is happening. But ultimately, it does come to a threshold moment where it had learned enough, and then it starts contracting back. And then new timelines, new universes being built, and it's learning, and then it starts contracting, collapsing. I think the existential question that I think the human mind can comprehend is like the idea of non-existence. That
Yes.
at some point, universe would completely deploy, and it would, move into a different template. But that is part of, I think, the process of that consciousness is evolving, it's learning, and it does come to a place where it's like maybe learned enough and then it wants a different experience. From my perspective, that is possible. But we constantly being reflected, like what I was just talking about in terms of reality creation, right? Your reality mirrors for you and shows you, are you on the right trajectory or not? People show up in your life and all of a sudden these amazing magical things happen to you. So are you in the frequency of magic, right? You can feel that. And it's like the universe is showing you, yes, you are. Like, look at these incredible opportunities that come in your way. So it's a reflection of your state. Like, if you're in that consciousness of the heart and you open to these opportunities and you want to help and serve humanity, I feel universe constantly co-creating with you. So it's not like it's just reflection, it's a co-creation mechanism altogether. And that's what I cover in my book, Mastering Quantum Creation, how to co-create with the universe. There are some formulas, some ingredients you can put in.
Awesome.
Deanna, what's one thing that if one of our audience members right now is struggling to connect with themselves, they're in their head, they're, on a loop, pain loop, storytelling, frustrated, aggravated, agitated. What is one thing that you could help them with today?
Yeah, it's very simple. And to move out of the mind and be present, you have to move into your heart. And so I would just recommend something as simple as, you wake up in the morning and take 3 breaths. So we can do it even right now.
Mhm.
Deep breath in and then into your heart space and exhale out with your mouth open. Another deep breath in and big exhale. Releasing what's not serving you. And another deep breath in, coming fully into alignment with acceptance itself, allowance, stay curious, stay open, be here. And so it's all about embodiment. The more you bring yourself into the body, especially the heart, we know the heart is this powerful electromagnetic, organ that is emanating, resonating these frequencies wherever you go. So it's really get out of the loop of the mind. The ego is like tends to like spin around and just come into the body, get out of your mental chatter and be here. And the more you teach yourself how to be here, that's the presence, right? It's being so super conscious and aware.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Deanna.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Every time you're on the show, you expand our curiosity and you leave us with a lot of questions, which I think is probably exactly the point, right? Stay curious and keep exploring.
Keep exploring.
Yeah.
Keep
always
staying in the
wonderful to have you.
question.
Yeah,
Keep asking
absolutely.
questions.
Well, thank you again for stretching our minds and expanding what is possible. We really appreciate it. Beautiful. From our hearts to yours. Thank you so much.
Bethany. Thank you, Sharon. Always
you.
a pleasure to be here
Love
with you and everyone who is tuning in and receiving. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, babes. It's a pleasure. Sharon, once again, baby girl, ballpark that thing. Woo!
She's amazing. And every
She
time
is.
she
She is.
literally leaves me with a million questions. So it's awesome. Very
And
awesome.
what's even more fantastic is to get into her energy field.
Yes.
To be around her is an absolute pleasure and a total vibe. So,
Yes, that it is.
well, Sharon, Sister Kate, who do we have on the show next week?
Next week, it's just us dummies.
Oh, Lord.
Just the two of us, baby. And we are just going to be shiftballing about what we learned over the last 12 weeks of our consciousness series. And I think we're going to discuss where the show is headed next, which, might be getting back to basics, might be going back to the roots.
Well, that's a conversation that I'm totally looking forward to. And,
Yeah.
it's been an interesting go with the series. A lot of information, a lot of expansion. But, one thing that I think that we have found on repeat is the one thing to connect to your heart through presence.
Yes. Yeah. And we are all
Yep.
connected. Quantum
Yep.
entanglement. We are all quantum entangled. It's pretty incredible.
Yes, it is. So guess what, Sharon, from our heart to y'all's, we thank you and appreciate you. And remember, Sharon, when life kicks you in the balls, be sure to tune in to your Holy Shiftball podcast.
Where we help you turn that shit into a shift.
See you next Thursday.
Bye.